Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Joe Palmer begins now.
A new recycling initiative encouraging Tasmanians to cash in used drink containers has been unveiled. Similar container refund schemes are already in place in a number of states, but Tasmanians may have to wait a few more years before it rolls out here.
A familiar sight: water bottles, cans and drink containers littered throughout our environment. Today, the state government announcing its plans to introduce a container refund scheme to combat the problem.
The majority of all Australian states currently have container refund schemes where you can exchange containers for change at designated depots.
The initiative means Tasmanians will soon be able to collect drinks containers and exchange them for money.
The latest data highlights that around 41% of current litter by volume is beverage containers.
But the scheme is not expected to be up and running until 2022. The announcement came on the final day of budget estimate hearings, with ELISE also grilled over her corrections portfolio, addressing concerns from prison officers that current staffing levels at Risdon are too low.
Our job is absolutely pivotal on how we maintain our professional relationship with inmates. And when the service fails to provide enough staff to get those inmates their basic rights, it does create friction.
We've acknowledged that the prison population has increased. This is why we've put more money into more staff, with 107 additional correctional officers since May 2016.
But the union representing officers says this doesn't account for staff turnover.
The fact is, in that same period, 90 officers have exited the system, 90 officers have left.
As hearings wind up, extra questions will have to wait until Parliament returns next week. Michelle Wisby, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmania has officially been labelled the most expensive state in Australia to be a tenant, with rent costing more than mortgage repayments in many areas. A new CoreLogic report confirms Hobart has surpassed major cities like Sydney and Melbourne to become the nation's least affordable city to rent.
It will come as no surprise it's expensive to rent in our capital city. Now new data confirms the costs are astronomical in relation to household incomes.
But it's now more expensive than Adelaide, more expensive than Perth and more expensive than Darwin. So it doesn't really have that same affordability advantage that it did 3 or 4 years ago.
It's relatively expensive to rent in other areas too, according to the latest ANZ CoreLogic report. For buyers, it's not looking good either. What was once an attractive state to find value for money is now up there cost-wise with the big cities.
But it's now more expensive than Adelaide, more expensive than Perth and more expensive than Darwin. So it doesn't really have that same affordability advantage that it did 3 or 4 years ago.
We know that it still takes a really long time to save that deposit. It's getting better around the country, but in Hobart it's not. That time frame is getting longer for people.
In Launceston, buying has stayed relatively stable, but in the Huon, Bruny, the West Coast and Devonport, values are rising as properties are snapped up.
People started to move out into some of these regional markets, and that's what we're now seeing in Hobart and Tasmania.
These high rental prices are contributing to our housing crisis. Calls reiterated to fast-track supply.
And we need to remove all the regulatory handbrakes to ensure that we can add more stock to the market.
Yeah, look, we're certainly wanting to progress things as quickly as possible, work with local governments as well to release land and make it available for construction.
Louise Hedger, 7 Tasmania News.
Welcome back. The Women's Big Bash League is returning north, with several games taking place in Burnie and Launceston this coming season. And with a new venue in the picture, the Hobart Hurricanes are confident they'll continue to rally the support of local fans.
These cricketers are getting familiar with the new ground. With UTAS Stadium unavailable due to resurfacing, Invermay Park is set to host the Hobart Hurricanes for the first time.
Look, I think it's really exciting. It's a great wicket from what I understand. There's a real opportunity to involve the community and have a real engaging atmosphere for the playing group.
Yeah, it's really special to be, I guess, back in Launceston to play another fixture of WBBL here. We very much get a lot of support from the locals, and we've had really good crowds in Launceston, so it's exciting to be back and get that support here.
With the captain returning to the place she knows all too well.
I grew up in Launceston, so it's always good to get back up here and play in front of a home crowd.
The local side has managed 6 wins out of 9 games played in the state's north and northwest, and with 2 games in Burnie and 1 in Launceston. This coming season will see women's cricket travel across Tasmania once again.
Yeah, look, it's a crucial opportunity for our playing group and us as a business. We're Tasmania's team. We're committed to being in the community and taking our fixtures far and wide across the state.
And inspiring the next generation of Tasmanian players is a prime focus for the team.
Yeah, so obviously growing up here, there wasn't a lot of female cricket played, so for us to get back into communities like this and be a role model to those aspiring young girls and boys, it's really exciting.
The full fixture will be announced on June 12. Ruby Kamain, 7 Tasmania News.
Around 100 community members gathered at the Launceston General Hospital this morning for the annual Give Me 5 for Kids breakfast launch for Northern Tasmania. The event raises funds to improve hospital facilities and equipment for sick children.
It means that we can do so much more with our equipment. So rather than just having the most basic of equipment, it means that we can get things that really keep our children safe and that are really effective for our staff.
Today's efforts generated around $6,500.
Former TSL talent is beefing up a battle for Northern bragging rights. At least a dozen ex-State League players will collide when the Northern Tasmanian Football Association takes on the might of the Northwest.
It's been 8 years since the North and Northwest went head-to-head on the footy field, but that hasn't muted a mega regional rivalry.
No, we don't like anyone around our part of the state, so you don't have to travel far to find a rival.
The Northwest Football League will test itself here at Invermay Park against an NTFA outfit featuring TSL quality players like Tom Bennett, Mark Walsh and Jake Pearce, with South Launceston Premiership coach Lee Harding leading the troops.
I still have a passion and drive to play and represent a competition.
The NTFA steamrolled a depleted Southern Football League last year. The lopsided contest hasn't dented support for the format.
It's just really important, I think, to grow footy and keep it going throughout the community.
The NWFL has its own point to prove with the loss of the Circular Head Giants to the competition this season, but the return of Devonport and Burnie has added TSL talent like Brodie Knight, Tyrone Morrison and Liam Williams.
Coastal footy has always been really strong. We've sent away a fair few guys for the AFL who have represented themselves really well. It's good to be able to represent it and do it proud.
Entry on Saturday is free. Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News.
And the state will get a solid indication on how it will fare if granted a VFL licence, with the TSL's best set to compete against some of Victoria's most exciting young talent in Sunday's under-25 representative match. And the Tassie boys are confident they can get the job done despite heading in as underdogs. Facing the daunting task of providing an upset win in front of a home crowd full of expectations, up against the state renowned for producing the country's best footballing talent.
There's obviously a lot of history with people that have represented the map. So yeah, it's a massive honour for me, and I know the boys are super excited to go out there on Sunday and hopefully make a good account of it.
And with a string of the Tassie players boasting AFL and VFL experience, the squad is confident they can do just that up against Victoria Metro.
I know we played each other on the weekends and stuff like that, but obviously coming together and putting that jumper on means a lot.
Players will also have a bit of added incentive to perform, with AFL scouts also set to be watching on.
Gives our younger players an opportunity to play at a higher level and see if they really want to pursue what will hopefully be a VFL competition in 2 years' time.
To soccer, and after falling painfully short in last year's statewide cup final, the Kingborough Lions will be out for redemption in Monday's decider up against Hobart Zebras at KG5.
We've learnt a lot through the years, especially through the Super League. I think this is our 3rd or 4th year in the Super League, and we've come up stronger. We're improving every year, and I think this year I reckon we can do it.
It's a tough opponent regardless of who it is, but we've hit some form in the last month or so. So if we play the way I know we can, I think we should come out on top.
The match will be followed by the Lacca Seljack Cup decider between Devonport and South Hobart. Well, after only getting behind the wheel competitively just a couple of years ago, a Tasmanian motorsport fanatic is carving out a big name for himself in the sport, and having conquered the state, he's now shifting focus to the national stage. It started as a bit of a passion project, but slowly developed into something more serious.
Picked up the WRX, and the last 2 years have been a big process of development. It's taken a long time, and somewhere along the ways I realised that I wanted to take it to the next level.
Gradually shedding second by second off his lap times, Hooper recently took out the Tasmanian Time Attack event at Baskerville. He and his team are now preparing to shift things up another gear against the best of the best in his category.
We're off to Phillip Island for the Subaru Nationals, and then Wakefield Park in New South Wales for Oz Time Attack, and then later in the year World Time Attack at Sydney Motorsport Park.
And after progressing through the amateur ranks, Hooper wants to see other aspiring drivers do the same, calling on more events like the recent and hugely popular Baskerville 1000 to be run throughout the year.
I think it's just at the point now where it needs an organisation to step up and take ownership of the process end to end, and really just have their ultimate goal is getting more people to the track and more people racing.
But for now, he's got his eyes firmly fixed on a podium finish at Phillip Island.
We've now got all the bits we need, we've got the know-how, and hopefully I can string it all together.
He's tamed the seas once before, and soon Wynyard's Chris Simmons will try to do it again when he returns to defend his title at the Paraworld Sailing Championship in Spain. And there's not a day to waste with a countdown on for July 1.
Coach Mike Darby never doubts the drive of his teammate.
Oh, he drives you nuts. He wants to go sailing every day.
A passion which pays off. Chris Simons is a Paraworld Sailing champion, but keeping his 303 title won't be a breeze when he returns to defend it in Spain next month. There could be as many as 50 boats in the water, all jostling for the prize.
I'm feeling pretty good. We've done a lot of preparation, and my body is in the best condition it can be.
The 59-year-old with Kennedy's disease has even seen success in able-bodied classes. And as he prepares to swap Bass Strait for the Atlantic, the team is fine-tuning techniques.
Starts are really important. If you start behind, you nearly stay behind. So you have to be on the line at the start.
Go! As the championships draw near for Chris and Mike, this has been live 5 days a week for the last 3 months. Decision-making and anticipation are key skills when it comes to sailing.
It can be demanding, depending on the wind strength, obviously. So we had conditions yesterday that were in 20-knot range, so physically it was quite hard.
And it's the weather which can have the final say in who claims glory.
Who knows what we're going to get? We're ready for anything.
Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
And finally, the Tasmanian and Australian golfing communities are mourning the death of a legend of the sport, with Peter Toogood passing away overnight, aged 89. The Tasmanian was a member of Australia's winning team at the original Eisenhower Trophy at St Andrews, and spent 20 years with his name in the Guinness Book of Records after becoming the youngest player to hit a hole-in-one at age 8.
One of the nicest people you'll ever meet, a great Tasmanian, so we're really saddened by his loss.
The 1955 Tasmanian Sportsman of the Year was also an inaugural member of the State Sporting Hall of Fame in 1987 before being awarded with the Order of Australia medal.
Good evening. A partly cloudy day today with a light shower over the west and far south. Hobart, Launceston and Devonport all 17, Burnie 16 degrees. 18 the high at Eddystone Point after the low of -2 at Lake Leak. 17 at St Helens and Friendly Beaches, Low Head 16 today, Grove, Ouse and Flinders Island 15, King Island and Strawn a top of 14 degrees. There is an area of low and middle cloud that moved over Tasmania associated with a high pressure system trapping some moisture. Cloud from an approaching cold front also in the picture too, extending back over Western Australia ahead of another cold pool of air. High and middle level cloud is being advected eastwards from the Gulf of Carpentaria by a subtropical jet stream. Tomorrow the high over the Bight continues moving slowly eastwards. Twin cold fronts move towards the Bight as well. Surface troughs sit over inland Queensland and the far west of the country. The winds western or westerly at 15 to 25 knots, reaching 30 knots at times over the north and to 25 to 35 knots over southern waters, swells to 4 metres. A gale warning for southern waters between Tasman Island and Low Rocky Point, a strong wind warning from Stanley to St Helens Point and a small craft wind alert for the southwest lakes. Mostly sunny in Hobart tomorrow, 9 overnight, a top of 17, 15 the high for Huonville, mostly sunny for Campania as well, 17 the maximum. 16 for Launceston, morning fog, but a fine afternoon. 16 for Devonport as well, Georgetown 15 degrees. Burnie a high of 15 and partly cloudy, a light shower for Strawn, 14 the top, Wynyard 15. St Helens tomorrow expecting a top of 17 and a mostly sunny afternoon. Swansea 18, 14 the top for Port Arthur. On Saturday, areas of morning frost, but fine apart from a light shower over the west. Showers over the west and north increasing on Sunday, fine and partly cloudy across the rest of Tasmania. And on Monday, rain, more frequent over the north and west of the state. Rain easing from Perth tomorrow, sunny and 16 in Adelaide, Melbourne and Canberra, partly cloudy in Sydney and showers over Brisbane. And it's cloudy around the state at the moment. Hobart 12, 10 in Launceston, Devonport 11 degrees. And Joe, today's energy saving tip from the staff at Aurora Energy: instead of turning your heating right up to 11, simply put on your Ugg boots. Easy for you, you never take yours off.
Ugg boots and a puffer jacket, the Tasmanian uniform, isn't it? Thank you very much for that, Murph. That's all from the news team for now. Thanks so much for your company. We will, of course, see you a little later with our evening updates. Bye for now.